Welcome to Fresh Off the Boat. My name is Arjun Seth, and this podcast is directed to students who are applying to college or currently in college to learn from students who have graduated or are graduating soon. It's interesting that today's guest is Ahan Mukhopadhyay, and the story goes that when he first met me, he was pretty much set on preparing for IITs, and then pretty much at the end, almost August of fall, start of fall, in 2016 is
Yeah.
when he started deciding on applying 15 or 16, and then it just went off really well. I just loved the interactions, loved his energy, didn't really bother him that he started too late, and then finally made it to a very coveted program at UC San Diego. He's completed his bachelor's of science computer science at UCSD, and is now pursuing a 1 year sort of master's program there. He's also going to be interning at Facebook. His concentration is data science, AI, ML. So we'll learn more about all of these things. But first things first, Tahan, how was it like, all of a sudden changing track and then going to apply and then finally settling in at UCSD? It just happened quite rapidly for you.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of bizarre. I don't think most people have that kind of a journey. They usually start preparing at least 2 years or 1 year in advance for like college applications. But it just so happened that like my parents decided that it would be a good idea for me to apply like abroad. And so I kind of had to do everything in a matter of, I think, 3 or 4 months. Like I wrote essays and did like, volunteer work, did midterms, did SATs, did like a lot of stuff, and luckily it ended up working out for me. So yeah.
And how was it like going there? Did it meet your expectations? What were you thinking when you were flying to San Diego?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to remember like how I felt exactly, but I know that it was definitely a little nerve wracking because I was moving to a different country where I didn't really know anyone, and I only know like one or two people from my high school that were also going to UC San Diego, and so that was definitely like I guess the hardest part, getting my like head around that and like meeting new people when I got there. I like had this expectation that because it's a public university, I wouldn't be able to interact with professors that much because the class size would be so big, and I wouldn't be able to fit in because it's a completely different culture there, and the way instruction is done there is so different from like high school in India. But honestly, it was a pretty smooth transition for me. I met a lot of cool people, and I think I adapted pretty well. So
How is the academic pace in the first quarter or semester? And tell us a little bit about the academic system and what resources were available to you in a large public university setting.
yeah, I think I remember my first quarter. I was like a bit ambitious, so I ended up taking 20 units, and because we're in quarter system, most people take 16 units in an average quarter, like on a regular quarter. But I took 20 because I wanted to just try and see like how much I could push myself. Usually you want to like start up with maybe not that many units because like that first month is so hard because you're away from your parents, you're managing everything on your own, whether it's like fitting your clothes or like dry cleaning or like figuring out your schedule or meeting people. So you want to have a lighter load. But for me, I kind of just ended up taking 20 units to see, and it ended up working out because I think I got a 4.0 that first quarter. In terms of like resources, I think just like knowing or making friends in your class with other like classmates and then working with them on homeworks that were like paired, that was really, really useful. Usually Piazza, they have Piazza for most engineering classes. And so being able to refer to Piazza when I had a question and seeing like how many other people like asked the same question already, like would often save me so much time on homeworks. And then also office hours for professors were like crucial. And this is especially true for CS classes, like TA office hours and professor office hours, where like sometimes like would sometimes just save you like last minute if you weren't able to figure something out because they were just there and willing to help you. And even going up to the professor after class and asking like questions you had during lecture like would often help me like learn the material as the quarter was going on instead of learning it right at the end during finals week. Yeah.
More about your CS journey at UCSD. How is the major designed? What are the different tracks students opt for? and what are the general requirements, and what was your path?
Yeah, so UCSD has a lot of like majors that are kind of similar to CS. So they have like the regular CS track, which is in the CSE department. Then they have a CE track, which is more like a combination of electrical and computer science. Then they also have math CS, which I think is under the maths department. I don't think that's a BS degree, but it's a BA degree, and it's fairly similar, except you have a lot more upper division math classes. Then there's also cognitive science, and then there's data science, which I think they introduced last year. And I think we're one of the first universities to introduce like a separate like data science like institute. Um, but yeah, any specific
Yeah,
questions
so
on? Yeah.
if you were to talk about your journey of choosing different courses and then specializing in data science, AI, ML, uh, what exactly did you have to do which was different from someone else doing different courses or different tracks?
Mhm. Yeah, so when you, if someone's in my major, the CS major, your first year or two are pretty much set because you have to take certain lower division classes, which are prereqs for all the upper division classes. And so I ended up taking like, introduction to programming and then data structures and, those kind of introduction level classes. And once I got to second year and third year, I could then start diversifying in terms of courses because I had gotten all the prerequisites. And then once you have that option, you have options between like networking, and you have options between like lower level like stuff like assembly classes, compiler classes, or operating systems, and then obviously like AI classes and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of like different classes you can take once you've crossed that upper division like threshold. For me personally, I started doing like research slightly early on, and I was already pretty familiar with different like areas within CS. So I was kind of already like I kind of knew which way I was headed. But then once I started doing research, it kind of like gave me even more like reassurance that that was something I was really interested in.
So UCSD also started a new data science department and new facilities. What exactly do you think it's all about? And since you were in probably the first graduating class, what pioneering spirit did that department really bring forward and expect from students?
Yeah, so I actually work really closely with them. So they, I guess the acronym they go by is HDSI, which is the I can't pronounce like I think it's Halikoglu Data Science Institute. That's what it like uh, stands for. I can't really pronounce the H word, but basically I wasn't in the major. I wasn't in the data science major, but I was part of the Data Science Student Society, which is a student society that has been part of the student body before the Data Science Institute was even like launched. But basically, we did things like events, and we did like workshops. We did learning. We helped students learn data science. We did like hackathons, and I was part of like projects. So I was like helping students with doing like projects during the year, and then finding other people to do projects with, and providing a good structure for them. But basically, HSI came up I think a year ago or a year and a half ago, and they introduced the data science major for the first time. A lot of people switched to data science because they weren't able to get into the CS major because it's so hard to get into the CS major there. So everyone's transitioned to data science. The cool thing about data science there is they have a lot of like funding. The building is new, and a lot of the professors from CS are actually also teaching data science classes. So in terms of
Fantastic.
like faculty, like it's really good. And I actually met with the director of HDSI, and he's doing a great job of like helping support students with scholarships and like research track, and even supporting our student organization. Like we got a lot of support from them.
So if you were
So
to explain data science and MLAI uh, education, like what do you really study, and then what are the opportunities like projects, internships, even challenges which companies might offer college students? What is it like to be a data science student?
yeah. So I think it's definitely picking up a lot more now. Like data science wasn't really a big thing like 3, 4 years ago. but recently it's been picking up a lot, both in universities and in like industry. Like I've noticed that industry, like a lot of companies like Lyft, Facebook, Microsoft are hosting data science challenges instead of hackathons, where they invite like university students from all over the like country to like participate, and they actually oftentimes will not only like give you a prize if you do well, but also interview you for like internships if you do well. And so that's like a great way for you to like maybe even land a job is through some of those challenges. Um, and then university wise, I've noticed like a lot of increase in courses. Especially like because they introduced the Data Science Institute, all of the data science classes, although somewhat some of them are kind of similar to CS classes, but the upper division data science classes like cover a lot of really cool like stuff like data visualization and data pipelining, and like how do you get to the part where you start doing like analysis of machine learning. Like that's also part of data science, and I wish I could take more of those classes, but I don't really have time because I was graduating. But it's really awesome to see that. Yeah.
It's fascinating to know that a large school can also make sort of career education a good focus, and many student-run initiatives make that happen. In our previous conversation, we talked about how learning outside the classroom was a big thing for
Yeah,
you
definitely.
at UCSD. So,
Yeah.
what are the few things that worked for you in terms of people you met, or yeah, how you landed your internships? So, switching gears to more career sort of
Mm.
education and career dev. Go
Yeah.
ahead and
I
tell us
think
more about yourself.
early in my college career, I think I ended up doing a lot of hackathons because it was just something I had like heard a lot about before. I'd gone to one hackathon before college, and it ended up being really fun. It was, I think it's called Angel Hack, and it happened in Delhi. I went with a few of my friends from high school, and it was awesome because like you have 24, 48 hours to just work on a project with your friends. Like no one can just leave or just say they're busy. Like it's dedicated, you're focused, and you end up learning a new language or a new tool or a new framework, and you use that to like solve real world problems. So I think it's a really awesome concept, and I met a lot of amazing people and learned a lot of new like skills because I went to these things. And because if you do well or if you talk to companies there, they'll probably give you like a business card or contact information which you can then use to follow up, and even like get like land a job. I think in terms of actually landing internships, which I did at Tesla and Facebook and like other companies like Viasat, what really worked for me was the networking aspect. Like I used to think the academics would be like a big thing, but they don't really care as much about grades, or they don't really care as much about like how you're doing in your classes. It's more about what you know and like who you know, kind of thing. How you like appear as a person when you like go talk to recruiters during like career fairs and stuff. Um,
Fantastic. And so,
yeah,
if you were to tell us a little bit more about the internships or jobs on campus or
yeah,
projects that really felt you learned a lot from,
mm,
and where are you headed next? I know it's the
mhm,
master's program,
yeah.
and also the internship at Facebook.
I actually had more to say about networking and how to like talk to recruiters and that kind of stuff. But because we don't have as much time, I actually have a Medium article which you can
Go ahead. Yeah,
maybe like maybe you can put it in the podcast description or something, and people can just link it. It's a 5-minute article. It reads really fast, and it's really targeted towards college students, so they might find
so
it
even
useful.
even mention how it's important to put your stuff out there on platforms like LinkedIn or Medium. Yeah, go ahead. What are the
Yeah, I
tips
mean,
and what did you do?
uh, I guess like it is important because if you're on LinkedIn and stuff, and like you want to show that you're really passionate about what you're studying and what you want to like build a career in, and to show that you're interested and you're passionate, you should like try and share stuff on LinkedIn, or like maybe post an article that you wrote somewhere else like on Medium and share it on LinkedIn, and that like is a great way to show recruiters that you connect with that look like this guy's like engaging with his major a lot, so we know he's like legit. In terms of like the tips, I won't go into too much detail, but it's about like kind of breaking down the wall between you and the recruiter, because everyone, like the recruiter is going to talk to thousands and thousands of students during the career fair, and the whole point is you have to stand out, and you have to treat them also as a human, as a person. So I want to be as friendly as possible, and following up is always so important. The follow up email is everything. Like I landed like multiple internships just by like following up with recruiters after like career fairs, and that's like I can't like emphasize how important that is. But yeah, you can go and there's more details on my Medium
Sure.
article which you can
And what
plug in.
about the
Yeah.
first few internships or projects
Hmm.
that you did, which built your skills out, and now you
Right.
know that you want to be a product manager? That's the journey you want to head towards, or it's still evolving?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. Like I could go towards product management. I could go more towards like machine learning, like just research, that kind of stuff. I don't really know yet. But the good thing is data science is kind of the middle ground between those two. And so once I go into industry, I should be able to like I guess move around pretty easily from that
So, what
from
did
that
you learn in
stage.
your first few internships, and then what do you hope to achieve, say, in the future once you're done with your masters?
Yeah, so I think the first internship I had was at Viasat, which is a satellite company, and they do a lot of government work. They provide in-flight internet and stuff like that. And so most of that internship was pretty much just me getting work experience. That's what your first internship is always going to be about. Is like going into industry and seeing what it's like, applying those skills you learned in class to industry and at a company, and how it feels to be on a 9 to 5 job. And I ended up liking it a lot. And if you don't like your internship, it's kind of indicative of like either you didn't like the workspace or you might not be in the right position. And but that's also information, which is really useful. So that's my first internship was just learning how to like work in a team, how to communicate with my manager, how to like push production quality code, and solve like actual problems. And we would even have like an end of the internship presentation with like a huge like audience. So like being able to present your work and talk about your work and build that communication ability, that was so vital. So yeah, that's most of my first internship was about that, and then the second internship was at Tesla, and I was working for the it was adjacent to the autopilot team. I was on the infrastructure team that helped build infrastructure for everyone working on the car software, and so I was mostly just doing a lot of back end level stuff, and I was in a very small team. So it was really different because in my first internship I was in a big team, but my second internship I was in a very small team with just 4 other people, and so I got to work a lot more closely with them, and I got to see a lot of like internal tools and how like stuff gets done and the big picture things as well, which was pretty awesome. And the cool thing about Tesla was it was really intense. Like everyone worked really hard and stuff, but um, they were really awesome about like projects. Like they gave me an initial project, but I got it done about halfway through, and they were really awesome about like letting me work on stuff that I was interested in for the second half. And they really like getting interns back and extending internships into like 6 month or even 9 month long internships. So yeah, definitely
Fantastic. And
you should
so,
check them out. Yeah.
you're currently deprived of a graduation ceremony, but also headed to Seattle for your internship. What's that role going to be? What does an intern at Facebook do?
Yeah, so those two internships that I talked about were software engineering, and so the one I'm doing this summer is data science intern, which I'm really excited about because I'm really confident that I'd much rather be in the data science position than in the software engineering position. And data science intern positions are so few that it's kind of like hard to come by. But I got really lucky with Facebook, and the team that I'm assigned on is actually called Communities, which I think encompasses Facebook groups and Facebook events, which are two features that I've used a lot on Facebook. I probably use those two the most on Facebook. And so it's awesome to be able to contribute to those. So far, I mean, I haven't really started yet, but it sounds like my job or my like project will probably involve something about like how different groups are categorized into different categories and how like you basically build different features for groups and events that are in different categories. and
What
something.
is your take on the explosion of the use of internet at these times? And I also have my daughter joining us today in a special edition. You can come down. So it's
uh,
yeah, it's early morning here, and she's just woken up, so it's fun. So yeah, what do you think is the future of tech, given what's going around in the world these days?
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think like social networks that help us keep us connected with people around the world. Like I talk to my mom like every day on WhatsApp, which is also owned by Facebook. Um, so in some ways it's so powerful, but in other ways, like it's so easy for stuff to go wrong. Like you've probably heard about like how Mark Zuckerberg's taking a stand on not like fact checking Trump, and it starts to blur lines. Like at what point does the social network like have power? Like does the social network have power to control like freedom of speech? Like because they have to moderate things, but then when politicians lie, is it their role to like stop the lies or not? And I personally think it's kind of made politics worse because of something called friction. So what everyone's designing these days is frictionless design, which means that like you want like you're getting recommended things that you already like and things you already like believe or agree with, and so less and less often are you getting like news articles or opinions that are different from yours or disagreeing with yours, and so it ends up being this echo chamber where people on the left like think the people on the right are insane, and people on the right think the people on the left are insane, and so there's this huge polarization, which social network is not helping with. So
Yeah.
that's why I think it's like a double-edged sword. It's helping a lot of people, but it's also hurting at the same time.
What about product managers? You would have worked with a few product managers, and if you aspire to be one, not necessarily just you right away, but this is more for the audience, for students who are wide-eyed and
Yeah,
starry-eyed, thinking that we want to get that product management job right out of college.
right,
What does a product management person really do, and
right.
how does it? What qualities do you think one should have to be one?
Yeah, like two summers ago, I didn't even know product management existed. Like I thought PM meant project manager, but it's very clear that like project management and product management are just very very different things. Specifically, like product management involves you taking like responsibility for a feature or a product, and you basically responsible to talk with a lot of different stakeholders, like everyone that has stake in that feature. So it could be marketing, it could be legal, it could be upper management, it could be the engineers that build the product, it could be the designers that are designing the product, it could be the marketers that are going to be marketing the product. And so what it ends up being is a lot less time behind the screen and a lot more time talking and coordinating the efforts between all these different stakeholders. And so because it has this social aspect, it also has this entrepreneurial leadership and also engineering like aspect all combined into one. It just seemed really attractive to me. So that's kind of what it's about in a nutshell, if I had to
Fantastic. So
summarize.
let's
Yeah.
switch gears. Let's get to Noah Han a little bit. So I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions.
Okay.
During these times of COVID, what reflections have you had about mistakes, embarrassments, life challenges, and what would you want to share
I
as
mean, at
learning?
first, when all the lockdowns started, I realized just like I was like in this cold complain mode, where I was like, oh, all my plans are getting canceled. Oh, I won't get a proper graduation. Everything is screwed up. I can't see my friends. But I honestly I realized how grateful I am for a lot of things that I do have during these times. Like I'm like luckily I'm not alone. Like in isolation, I have like all my housemates, and having them here has been honestly like such an amazing thing, because otherwise I think I would probably go on insane just like isolated by myself. And I know some friends of mine have been trying to do that, and it's horrible to hear that. And so that's something I'm grateful for, is like being able to have them here. And then the other thing is, I mean, yeah, my plans got canceled, but if you look at like people that are actually out there, like who have nothing, like people who are like going from paycheck to paycheck and having to pay rent every month, and now they're unemployed because of the shutdowns. I feel so bad for them, And so I guess that was one reflection that I had. That was one reflection I had, was like I should be so much more grateful because I'm in a more comfortable position than all these other people out there, and people that are dying from coronavirus. Like, you know.
Great. So, if I were to ask you one last question about inspirations, role models, YouTube, whatever, influencers, people you follow, people you
Yeah.
read, who would they be and why have they been meaningful for you to sort of follow?
Yeah, so I would say Elon Musk is definitely one of the biggest ones. Because I actually had this really interesting conversation with. I was at this party, and it was a really interesting party because it was like thrown by a startup incubator. So it was all the people that were entrepreneurs that were like, held like high positions in startups that they were like starting, and I had this really awesome conversation with um, one of the guys there, and we talked about like, he asked me like, what do you think are the three most defining things of our generation, and he said, oh, it's and I said, I think it's going to be space exploration slash Mars colonization, and I said it's going to be sustainability, and I think I also said it's going to be like AI, like general like AI, like intelligence. And he agreed with me, and I think Elon Musk has his like hands in all of them. Like he has Tesla and other like, he has this clean energy like solar panel like technology through like Tesla and other companies. He has OpenAI, which is doing insane research on general intelligence, and then he has, SpaceX, which is doing space exploration. So that's like why like he's one of my role models, is because he's accomplished so much in like so little time, and I want to be able to like be in that position someday, like making like huge impact and hopefully like helping sustainability. So yeah.
Fantastic. I hope you achieve your dreams and even more. So thank you, Ahan. I'm delighted to have had this conversation with you, with my daughter today.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Hope to see you in person
Yeah.
in Gurgaon whenever you are back. So we'll also be inviting you to a panel at some point. I'm putting things together. Maybe mix it up with an entrepreneur, a product manager, someone who's quite accomplished and walking that journey like you, or even mix it up, have creative people and tech enthusiasts sort of participate in discussions on various topics. So look forward to that, and thank you again. All the best for your move to
Yeah.
Seattle, and
Thank you
I'll
so
follow
much.
what you're doing in the future on Medium, like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
LinkedIn, like you said. Thanks.